Recently, I've noticed something strange about the Final Fantasy series, especially the villains. Now don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy VII is one of the best written games ever, but Sephiroth, there's something off about him. It started around a month ago when I booted up another playthrough. Like many of you, it takes me back, seeing the world through a boy's eyes again, knowing I'm about to spend the next 20 hours locked into this world. And that's when I started noticing something a little strange about Sephiroth. It's subtle at first, but the more I watched, the more I realized he proves something about humanity. On paper, he's the villain, cold, ruthless, unstoppable, and yet we can't look away. There's something magnetic about the way that he moves, speaks, even his silences. It's the same reason we're obsessed with tragic stories or shocking events in the news. Our minds are wired to study what terrifies us, even if it's bad for us. But with Sephiroth, it's more personal. He taps into a fascination we didn't know we had. Think about the first time you see him in Nibelheim. Calm, composed, almost like a father figure. When Cloud warns Tifa is too dangerous, Sephiroth steps in saying no problem, just protect her. This exudes confidence, like he's in control. And we trust him as an honorable figure, as a regular guy trying to do the right thing. But as the story unfolds, we see him start to learn more about his origins, discovering the truth about Genova, about who he really is. Each revelation twists him a little bit more until finally he snaps. The calm, composed figure that we admired becomes the maniacal antagonist that burns Nibelheim to the ground. And here's the thing, even as he destroys everything, we are still glued to the screen. We want to understand, to predict, to see what he'll do next. It's not just fear, it's fascination. Sephiroth holds a mirror to a part of humanity obsessed with tragedy. It shows that even a regular guy can be pushed to make ruthless choices. And that's the thing, this fascination isn't just in games. Think about how we consume news today. Tragedy, disaster, conflict. We can't look away. Every headline about chaos or destruction pulls us in, and we watch, analyze, share, and obsess over it, even though it's bad for our minds. Sephiroth isn't just a villain in a game, he's a reflection. He shows us how humanity is drawn to catastrophe, how we're addicted to watching the downfall of others, and how even when we know that it's harmful, we can't turn away. And that obsession to witness destruction is part of why humanity is broken. Sephiroth doesn't just reveal our obsession with tragedy, he also exposes a part of humanity we rarely talk about, unless it's framed around rich and powerful. That is our hunger for power and how easily it consumes us. We trick ourselves into believing it's only them, the rich, the famous, the people in charge, and that's because our power feels insignificant in comparison. But once we start to get a taste of that power, we can change. When Sephiroth realizes he has Genova cells, he starts pulling away from everyone, Cloud, Tifa, even the people he once protected. He sees himself as something different, something above humanity. And we do the same thing in real life, mostly without noticing. When we level up in our careers or achieve a certain success, we start drifting from old friends, old communities. That sense of being above it all can feel natural, even justified. Yo, talk to any young dude from the ends, they'll tell you someday they're getting out of the ends, they're gonna make it, and most likely leave that world behind them. We don't blame them for it, but just like Sephiroth, that distance can twist our perspective, disconnect us from what really matters, and make the darker parts of our nature easier to act on. Even today, watch closely. When someone gets money or a huge promotion, do their interests start to shift? Do they drift into new circles, away from people who raised them? This isn't evil, this is just human nature. Sephiroth did the exact same thing. Once he learned about the Genova cells, he saw himself as something different. He pulled away from everyone, and subconsciously, we understood. But that distance warped his morality, made him justify actions no one else could. And that's the scary part. It's not just the villain's story. It's a reflection of us all. Power, knowledge, status, they can subtly twist perspective, make us forget where we came from, and even make the darker parts of our nature easier to act on. Watching Sephiroth, we see the extreme version of something that exists in every human. Sephiroth shows us two truths about humanity. One, we're fascinated with destruction, drawn to watch tragedy even when it harms us. This is evident when we scroll through the news for hours, unable to look away from disasters and scandals. Even when it stresses us out, we keep going back. That curiosity is wired into how we process the world. Two, Our hunger for power and status can subtly twist who we are, disconnect us from our roots, and make darker impulses easier to act on. You can see this when somebody suddenly moves up in life, a promotion, money, influence, and they start drifting from old friends, old routines, the people who shaped them. It's subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but over time it changes how they think and act. That pull towards control and distance isn't evil, it's human, and it exists in all of us. With Sephiroth, both our obsession with destruction and our hunger for power are taken to the extreme. Watching him, we can't help but see a little bit of ourselves in him. That's why his story isn't just a game, it's real. And it shows us something about who we are. And this is how Sephiroth proves humanity is broken.